coastal Louisiana is disappearing at an alarming rate. A football field of wetlands vanishes into open water every 100 minutes. Since the 1930s, Louisiana has lost over 2,000 square miles of land, an area roughly the size of Prince Edward Island. This rate is increasing due to climate change-related sea level rise and increasingly devastating hurricanes, as well as activities associated with oil production. Many of the people on the front lines of this catastrophe are indigenous. 95% of the land that the Isle de Jean Charles tribe lived on has disappeared since 1955. Without a hurricane protection levee, their island will soon disappear. The nearby Pointe-Enchant tribe is protected by a recently built hurricane protection levee, but they still struggle with flooding and the erosion of their sacred sites. Elder Myeengun Henry of Deshken-Zibing and environmental sociologist Dr. Stephen Svensson, both from Ontario, have been collaborating with these communities over the past few years. We traveled to Louisiana with them to see how their friends are coping post-Hurricane Barry and the measures they are taking to preserve their way of life.
In the community of Isle de Jean Charles, it was bad. I mean, because even if it's just one that flooded, it was bad. And for us down here, we can handle the rain, but we can't handle the tidal surge. And it was just supposed to be like 3 feet, and it turned out to be 9 feet. So they was off by 6 feet, and that's a lot. That's a lot, yeah. So people decided they was going to stay home and ride it out. They rode it out, but they didn't have to take a helicopter. Coast Guard had to send a helicopter to get them out. Oh, it's all salt water now, yeah. It used to be fresh water right here at one time, before all this was washed out. But now it's all salt.
See, the water came up to here.
Yeah, probably that first sign right here.
Yeah, by that first sign.
My name is Alex Kolker, and I'm an associate professor here at Louisiana University's Marine Consortium, which we sometimes call LUMCON. And I'm a coastal geologist. So as a geologist, I look at how water and mud move across the coast. Here in Terrebonne Parish, we are one of the most at-risk regions for climate change and sea level rise and associated flooding. And that's for a couple of reasons. Some of them are, we've lost a lot of land here in Terrebonne, and that affects all of us, including the Biloxi Chitimacha tribe, but including us here at the Marine Lab, at the Marine Center. And this loss of land has contributed to an increased flood risk across the region. Some things are going to become really difficult. Driving a car down here will probably become increasingly difficult. And of course, the melting of water in Greenland and other parts of the Arctic leads to sea level rise, right? And the rate of global sea level rise has probably doubled over the last couple decades. It was double what it was the previous 100 years. That certainly affects our flood risks here and how often we flood here at LUMCON's Marine Center. So yeah, what happens in Canada and the Arctic impacts what happens down here in terms of flooding.
My name is Jason Pippenger. Born and raised here in Southeast Louisiana. My grandfather, third generation Louisianian.
My name is Blaise Pezold. I'm the Coastal Program Manager for the Mural Foundation in St. Bernard Parish.
There are different factors that came about that created erosion. This is just an example of what the result is. And so basically now we have about 60% of our land is water.
We're planting American lotus.
This is high-tech way of planting. Go.
All right, ready? The Coalition to Restore Coastal Louisiana, they have an oyster recycling program. I think it's the second or third largest in the nation. It used to be the first or the top one in the nation, but so they recycle oyster shells coming off of restaurants, and they go and bag the shell with volunteers, and they partnered with the Pointe-Enchant Indian tribe to go and protect some of their sacred mounds that were washing away due to coastal erosion, and they take those bags and they put them up against it in the shoreline to create, if you create shelf structure, you're going to eventually have oysters be recruited to it, and then that will grow a reef in front of it and will keep wave action from eroding those sacred sites, the mounds away.
The mounds are sacred because our ancestors are there. We have cemeteries down there, and some are just sacred mounds that for ceremonial purposes they use, gathering, and our people lived down there. Like where we went today, there's water everywhere, but at one time there was land all the way down there, and people lived. That's where our people lived. And so they're sacred to us because they come from our ancestors, and they've been here from as long as we can research and remember.
Since we've been losing our land and hurricane, more people are moving really toward the north because of the places. We had flood, and a lot of people don't like the flood, so plus we're just taking it out. It's my place, that's where I work, my homeland, so I'm just gonna stay here.
We talk about subsidence as the lowering of a position on the land with respect to the surface of the earth. The mud and sand underneath is dropping and literally getting closer to the center of the earth. And it's doing that for a couple of reasons. One, this is just really soft material. It's all some combination of mud and sand, maybe a little bit of gravel thrown in. And that stuff is really, it's not very stable, and it compresses and condenses under its own weight. And then, there's a lot of fluids in there, groundwater, and then deeper down there's oil and gas. And when you pull that material out, that can accelerate the rate at which the ground sinks. And so some of the subsidence is natural, and some of that has been accelerated by human activity.
And we have to do ceremonies to remember that family still exists here, especially ones who are going through hardship like your community. And we want to give you prayers from our community to help. So I've been lucky in my life, the elders that taught me and some of my family members who kept some of our traditions alive, they told me that I have to do this. I have to go and see the people and light the pipe. And the pipe is our prayer up to Creator. So what we'll do today is we'll do a pipe ceremony, and we'll ask Creator to be kind to us and think about the things that we need to do for our people, especially the leaders, the ones who have to make tough decisions.
Louisiana is one of many places that suffers the disproportionate effects of human-caused climate change. Through acts of solidarity and friendship, we can build the networks of understanding and support we need to confront the climate crisis across Turtle Island and the globe. We need to recognize our responsibility to the earth and to each other, and remember that future generations depend on the decisions we make and the actions we take today.